Welcome back. So the quote-unquote controversial appointments made by President Uhuru Kenyatta have really brought a great deal of concerns and debate here and there. And we're still continuing on with that. And of course, we are joined here on the Power Breakfast Show by Honorable Bonny Khalwale-Kakamega, Senator, and of course Kimani Wamatangi-Kiambu, Senator. Welcome back. All right, so we were talking about the legality of the appointments, because all these concerns, and you were explaining something. Perhaps you could take us through that again.
Yeah, he says they're illegal, and you say they are not.
Yeah.
I was basing my point on a very simple premise that if I'm appointed by you under your authority in your office to act and dispense of duties on your behalf, we can consult in private, and I communicate to you that I have made this decision, and you can as well go ahead and announce it. And I would not be surprised if you ask me, who says that there has been no communication earlier between the President and the Cabinet Secretary? The Cabinet Secretary could have made the appointment and say to the President, this is the person I appointed, so announce it. And
among others.
And among others. And what is the illegality of the President? Cabinet Secretaries are not appointed to go and announce other appointments. It is the work of the President to announce the appointments. And so whether it was done by the Cabinet Secretary and communicated to the Office of President, for the President to announce, amongst the others that he announced, that me and my colleague here cannot attest to. What we can only say is what has been said in the media is misleading, that the President has no window whatsoever in announcing the names or the name of that chairperson. He does absolutely have a window, like I've said, through the Cabinet Secretary. Now, the other key issue was on the issue that my colleague raised about Professor Abdurazak. And it is also important for all of us to be clear and honest about our views. The same hand that replaced Professor Abdurazak, and I believe the President must have had his own good reasons for having to do that. Like I've said earlier, I also am sure, and no one here in this show in this country can say absolutely that the President is not also going to give Abdurazak another job somewhere else where he could perform better. But that same hand is the same hand that appointed Abdul Bahari from the same area, from the same community, to head the Tana Adi Development Authority. Why isn't that an issue? So if we pick on one to create a big issue that is supposed to tilt the opinion or the thinking of the Kenyan public in a certain way, while looking away from the bigger part, which is even better. If we do not balance and we only choose to look at where we think that we can capitalize, where we think that we can gain most political mileage, then certainly we'll not be driving this country forward.
Yeah, I have no problem with what the Honorable Senator is saying, but my trouble with this is this. You cannot compare LAPSET as a project with the Tana project, where, is it called Tanathi?
It is Tanathi Development Authority.
Tanathi Development Authority. LAPSET, the Greenfield terminal at the airport, the standard gauge railway line. Those are multi-billion-dollar projects, and I have sufficient experience in the politics of this country to state categorically that the thing at play are the tenders that will emerge from those projects. So the people around the presidency would not be comfortable for a nondescript Majiganda in the name of Professor Abdurazak to be right at the heart of this particular
Let me ask one question. Let me ask one question.
Yes.
In the history of Madaura, the way you know him,
Yes.
is he prone to corruption?
Exactly. Now I am coming there. I was going for corruption. The thing that is driving all these rearrangements is corruption. Mudaura served under President Kibaki. And Kenyans remember that under President Kibaki, we had one of the cardinal corruption deals in the name of Anglo-leasing.
But was Mudaura involved in Anglo-leasing?
Well, he was the prefect of the whole civil service, and the players, and the players.
Would you say Mudaura is a very rich man?
If I can make my point, if I can make my point, then you
I just wanted to wanted to add you in so that you can clearly know, because you have said that that this was going towards the tenders, and the point that I want you as you come along with it is also to clear the air.
Yes.
Which tenders are these, and aren't we all aware that most of those tenders under LAPSSET are already ongoing? Most of the construction around Lamu is already tendered for and ongoing. The railway project the other day was flagged off. Which other tenders are we talking about waiting for?
Okay, may I go on then?
Yes,
So the thing that informs all these rearrangements is a desire to be part of or to control the gravy train. In the first presidency of this country, there was the Kenren factory. We lost money, it's gone, we're still paying. In the second presidency, there was Goldenberg. In the third presidency, there was Anglo-leasing. And in this presidency, there are these projects that will define the corruption face of the leadership of this country. Now, when you say that Mudaura is to blame as an individual, you miss the point. When he is in place, then the players that control the cartels of corruption have an opportunity to do their thing. In the LAPSSET, what is LAPSSET? LAPSSET, we are talking about that project that will have 3 countries, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Kenya. It is not just the mere construction of the infrastructure. It is a very complex thing that has got construction tenders, that has got supply tenders, that has got the people who will allow oil to flow from South Sudan, and so on and so forth. It's so complex that a guy who is not a homeboy like Professor Abdul Razak has no chance. This is what is at play. I might be wrong, but time will vindicate me. And I am convinced if President Uhuru does not move, then he is going to be reminded, the way he was reminded on Mutudo, that he had appointed him illegally, he had to reverse. On this one of CDF, he is going to be reminded. On this one of LAPSSET, he's going to be reminded if the judiciary will remain independent. You see, whereas the president has the prerogative to remove Professor Abdul Razak, he doesn't do it on knee-jerk reflex. There must be proof that Professor Abdul Razak is unable to perform, or he has resigned, or he has been jailed, or he's bankrupt, or he's dead. None of the above obtained. So he has to prove that the guy is incompetent, for God's sake. If Professor is not incompetent, just because it doesn't come from the homeboys, let the proud Kenyan do his job. And he's a professor, by the way. You don't just become a professor by chance.
Yes, right. You know, quite interesting claims being made by Honorable Khalwale. One, that there are strings attached to corruption. And earlier on, he also mentioned the fact that the president was actually under pressure to make some of the appointments.
Now, probably the interesting thing that you'll note from the trajectory that has been built by my colleague here is the hypothesis of corruption that he's trying to build around this government. And that's, for lack of a better word, a little mischievous, because you know he's alluded
the
to
whistleblower of corruption in that deal of Standard Gauge Rail Line was a Jubilee Member of Parliament, Alfred Keter, Member of Parliament for Nandi Hills. He made it public, and Parliament, this Parliament, National Assembly, will be remembered in this history. They have done something unprecedented. After a Member of Parliament has come out, the Public Investment Committee is now demanding that the MP goes for grilling. Instead of inviting Public Procurement and Oversight Authority to come and speak on the issues raised by Qatar, they allow Qatar to come and sit in the meeting when they are interrogating these people, so that Keter becomes a resource person. Instead, they are intimidating him. It is your own Jubilee people who are blowing the whistle, not me.
If my good friend, we would probably then answer to the issues that you have raised, because you've raised weighty issues.
Yes.
Let's first clear with, because if we build a possible or hypothetical scenario that there's going to be corruption, then we preset people's minds to expect corruption. And yet this corruption has not happened since the time this government took office up to this moment. What we have had, and probably I would speak better with more knowledge about the whistleblowing, so-called whistleblowing of Keter, more than probably my colleague would, because he's in Jubilee with me. And when he speaks, I know what he is saying. When he has made the allegations he has made, he has said it to us where he is coming from. And this is absolutely an internal matter. It is a matter whereby within the democracy of the party and the coalition, he is allowed to air his views and raise the concerns that he has raised. Those concerns have a way of being addressed. And other than gag him and stop him from speaking, that's why he's been allowed. We have earned this freedom to speak. And so he has been speaking, he has been heard, he can even speak again and again. And he will be answered, and he will be given the room to air his views and have his answers and have his say. But having said that, this issue of probably has Mudaura been placed there to oversee or preset a hypothetical scenario of corruption that might happen or that will happen? But the answer is no. And it is an absolute capital no, because Mudaura has got a track record.
Can I prove that there is corruption?
He has. Let me finish, and then you could certainly make your case. Ambassador Mudaura oversaw all or most of those pilot projects under Vision 2030 up to the time when he left office. To say that he was a prefect when Anglo leasing was there are people who were taken to court over Anglo leasing.
In any case, Anglo leasing was not a Kibaki thing. It has started with Moi.
Sure.
It's only that they inherited it.
and amongst those people was Mudaura one of them.
So if I may prove the issue of corruption, Honorable, the standard gauge rail line, the initial tender was 220 billion. Then out of the blues, it was now varied to the current 1.3 trillion. I expect the National Assembly to call the players in a committee meeting to interrogate that particular point.
PIC.
Yes. Number two, in Ethiopia, the same standard gauge rail line is being done, 700 kilometers to Djibouti. They are spending less money than us in Kenya, who are doing it at just below from Kisumu to Mombasa. We are spending more money than Ethiopia, and all this money.
But is the terrain the same?
Yeah. Sometimes
if you gentlemen can cool down completely the way I'm cool, I make my case.
Yes.
Okay, prove it.
It is during the interrogation at the committee stage that the experts will come with plans and justify